Tell me about the Coca-Cola ad that was AI generated that you worked on.
This is going to be a disruption. People are going to love it or hate it. And they did. People loved it or hated it. It was definitely like the most talked about, I think, ad of last year. It was a big moment to, I think, the production community, to the advertising community, saying, like, them planting the flag and saying, this is here.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to go away.
Right.
We're not afraid of it.
In today's world, how does a brand break through the noise and become iconic? Join me, Jason Harris, as I speak with the world's leading marketing experts about how they use soul and science to build an iconic brand. Think of it as EQ meeting IQ. So let's lock in and together fast forward our marketing minds on the Soul and Science podcast. Welcome to another edition of the Soul and Science podcast. On this episode, we are talking about the soul and science of AI production. We're going to explore the fascinating evolution of storytelling with the award-winning director, and I would call him an innovator, Jason Zada. And we're going to also talk about how technology is not just changing how stories are told, but also what's possible when brand building converges with AI native production in the world that we live in that is increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence. Welcome to the podcast, Jason.
Thank you for having me.
All right. I want to start with learning a little bit more about you, Jason, your origin story, and how were you always a film buff? I know you didn't go to film school,
Did not.
But how you got into film production, and then how you made that leap from film production to AI.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think I've known you for, decades at this point.
Decades and decades.
Yeah, I mean, back from the early days of the internet. Basically, when I was growing up, a couple things happened to me that I thought were foundational, reasons of why I became what I am, which I don't even know what I am anymore. It's just like this amalgamation of storyteller and innovation and technology. But I was obsessed with choose your own adventure books when I was a kid. I loved nonlinear storytelling. I was obsessed with it. So I started to program games in BASIC and text adventures, things like that. And at the same time, my parents, just around the time where you could get a VHS camera, my parents got a VHS camera. As growing up, my parents, because they knew I loved filmmaking and media production, all that kind of stuff. I went to a special high school that from, I think, like 10 and a half grade on, I was able to do film production, sound. I was editing. I did all these things. And then I skipped film school and just moved to San Francisco in 1993, I believe, in the early days of the internet and at the end of the CD-ROM.
Oh, wow. CD-ROMs.
Yeah.
So you self-taught?
Yeah, 100%. Everything, even nowadays, like I rush into every new technology. It's just I love to just learn and kind of learn trial by fire, where you're just like, you just absorb as much as you can.
I mean, that's why I love the childhood stories, because you trace that back from like your early text programming plus VHS camera, and it's sort of what you're doing now.
It's a great observation, because I think right now it was funny. I was just playing with Midjourney Video, and as well as VO3. I am working on a found footage thing in AI, and I just it feels like being a kid again. You're just like exploring and doing things, and I always love to try to break technology to sort of figure out where it shines.
A lot of your work is always about the audience participating, right? Like kind of being immersed in the story or able to make choices. How do you see that taking hold today in your work?
It's a good question. I mean, I love involving the audience. I really think it's a personalization is something that when the internet was finally allowed to do video back in the day, we were like, I was obsessed with personalization. So early on, when I did Elf Yourself, it was like one of those first things that, you uploaded your face and you see yourself dancing as an elf. And then you see, upload your whole family and you see themselves dancing as elves. And to me, that desire to involve the audience into, I think it's called now participatory entertainment, which I love. This idea that I could become part of the story. I'm helping drive the narrative, or I see myself in that. It's a really powerful thing for um, the audience to see themselves in the story. I think there's cheesy aspects of it, but like when you do it right, it works so much. There's this like, emotion that people get from seeing themselves be part of something.
Elf Yourself, you did when you were at EVB, right?
Yeah.
And then Take This Lollipop. Both of those were like, I don't know, at the time, the biggest thing out there, like the most innovative thing out there. What does that feel like when you have a hit like that on your hands?
Both very unexpected. Elf Yourself was, I think Office Max did like 22 websites that Christmas, and
That's insane.
Elf Yourself was one of them. And Elf Yourself was the only one that I personally like got involved with because we were doing, I think, four of them. And Elf Yourself was that one. I was like, I just saw something. I said, this is special. There's something about this that really spoke to me. We had no money to do it. I shot it on a green screen in our office. The elf was this woman that we cast off Craigslist.
Oh my gosh.
It was just like no money. And we didn't even know really how to do it. And there is, Take This Lollipop was another strange one where I think I was shooting I think it was like a Toyota commercial, and I'd asked my EP at Tool, Brian Ladd. I said, "Hey, could we schedule this on a Friday? Because I want to keep the camera over the weekend and shoot this little short I'm doing." And he's like, "Sure, yeah, why not?" And then I told him about the short. He said, "Oh, that sounds cool." I remember showing him a rough cut of it, and I showed a bunch of people the rough cut of it, and people were like, it's not that great.
Wow.
It's like, it's fine. But then when we got it integrated with the technology and they saw their own Facebook, pictures in there, like people lost their, can I swear in this?
Yeah, of course.
People lost their shit. It was like I got phone calls right away after I sent it to people. So that, in terms of I'm skirting around your question, but in terms of the feeling, yeah, it's one of those things that I think you don't plan to try to go viral with those things, but you hope that people will enjoy it and share it. That's it.
Believe me, I've had things that I thought would be a hit that are falling flat, and then things that you're like, that's pretty good, but I can't believe it went that well. Do you ever have that like gut instinct that this thing's gonna really go?
Yes and no. With Lollipop, a lot of people told me it would never work because when you go there, it says "I dare you." Then it had a a lollipop with a razor blade in it. Originally had the Facebook logo, but the Facebook lawyers made me take that off. But it basically did everything possible to make you not want to do it. So when people did it, I was like, I had the inclination that if people did it, they would send it to their friend and not tell them what it was. So they would do it. Um, and that usually, is a recipe for disaster. You're in marketing as well. It's like do everything possible to make it so people won't do it.
In a way, those Facebook lawyers made this thing go viral.
Potentially. Yeah. It's funny because I thought about that a while back, which is like that one change of the Facebook
It made it dangerous, you know?
logo with a razor blade, and
Yeah.
then I mean, I was raised in the 80s, and that was all about your parents warning you that people are going to put razor blades in your candy in Halloween. So
Right, of course.
it was fun. But the second one, I'll tell you that the second one did not. The first week it was out, when we did Take This Lollipop 2, barely any people went to it. I was freaked out. I thought we failed, and it was some kid or a bunch of kids that shared it on TikTok, and there's a trend where people like watching people do things. So they would post themselves doing it, and then they would post that on TikTok, and then it went viral from that.
Let's talk about Secret Level. You started in 23. What was the idea behind it? And tell me a little bit more about the vision for it.
Sure, yeah. I mean, being a commercial director was fun at times, but then I didn't like not being able to define my destiny. Like, you're just waiting for boards to come in, and that just felt really boring. I missed mentoring people. I missed finding, new talent. I missed, kind of the environment of, having my own company. And there was this time, I think it was like in 2023, I was using AI really heavily every single day. And the better it was getting, I just realized that, like, this is the future. This is exactly how, um, I guess I would say I made the long bet. I was like, this probably isn't going to be something that everybody's going to use tomorrow, but I could see this being, like, really having significant changes in production. So it started up mostly as a kind of hybrid production company, but then we quickly evolved into being like an AI native entertainment studio.
I think that pivot was very smart to make you own that white space and stand out and kind of be the first to market in that space. I think that was very smart because a lot of companies are going to say they can do both things, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think owning that space was smart. What do you think? Well, there's so many tools.
yeah.
Do you specialize or focus on any particular ones? I think like because they can't all survive, right? There's
No,
too many. There's
too
too
many.
many. So
Too
what do
many.
you decide? These are the three I'm going to get really proficient in.
I would say, for me, the way that my brain works, and the way that my brain thinks, when I saw VO2, and I was able to describe in text exactly what I wanted to see move, and then I saw that move, and I could get semi-consistent characters and this and that. It just clicked. I mean, to me, and it doesn't work for a lot of filmmakers or a lot of AI artists. The idea of going from text straight to video is, like, for most people, not good. They want to see it in image, they want to refine the image, then go. So it is, like, I feel like it's a skill that not everybody has, but it was the way that my brain worked. Very, very descriptive. I think when I did a Wu-Tang Clan music video a couple months ago called
Yeah,
Man.
that thing was great.
Thank you. It was like world building, and doing it in 3 weeks, and doing a 4.5 minute uh, 1970s black exploitation movie is just mind blowing. And to go from text to video, it's just the way that my brain seemed to work. So
What did you do that one in?
that was all VO2,
VO2.
and then I did the heist, I think, in December, literally like a week after VO2 came out, and it just blew my mind. It just blew
Yeah.
my mind, and that went, like, mega viral, because I think we got lots of calls from Hollywood, mostly because people, like, producers, like, I didn't think this was anywhere near where it is, and holy shit, it was a weird thing it came out of just trying to break it. Like, I was like, what can it, like video and AI was very slow, before everything felt like it was moving in slow motion. And then VO2 came out. I'm like, let me see if I can make a car go fast. And then I'm like, okay, let me see if I can make a car go fast in 1970s. Okay, let me see if I can make a car go fast in 1970s. And, and it just becomes this layers of ideas. And so I didn't write a script. It wasn't anything that I set out to do. It was just literally the holiday break had just started. I was winding down all my work, and I was sitting there in the morning with coffee in my pajamas going like, oh, I'm gonna play with this Google VO2 thing. And then I just got obsessed and did not leave my desk for 2 days.
When you do the heist, for example, how do you get that out into the world? Where do you do? Do you just post it?
Just post it on socials. And I don't really have that big of a social following, but I
think people that do follow you and
yes,
then they post it. Yeah,
that is exactly what happened with Lollipop, by the way. There was a New York Times writer that I knew that followed me on Twitter. I only had 5,000 followers, 4,000 followers on Twitter. And there was just a New York Times writer that followed me and saw it and then posted the next morning in the New York Times technology section, and that just exploded from there.
When you're doing something like the heist or the Wu-Tang video, first of all, 4.5 minutes that's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. A lot of room for error and inconsistencies, etc. How do you deal with wrestling when it won't give you what you want?
Good question. I couldn't figure out how to get the Manhattan, river to freeze, between Manhattan and Staten Island. And I was so frustrated. And I had my intern was just in this with me. And we're sitting there, we're trying to figure out how to get this river to freeze. And then I realized that rivers really don't freeze, maybe the top layer, but they don't, it's running water. So, I described it as a lake, kind of got something frozen. I mean, I was literally just hitting my head up against the wall. I could not figure out how to get it to freeze. And then I started to, it's just the right words, I said lake. And then I just put this one word in there, tundra, and it froze.
No way.
And I was just and it's and that's those breakthroughs you're just holy shit, this one little, this one word figured this whole thing out. But I've abandoned so many projects that I get frustrated where I can't get what I want.
And then you're forget it.
Yeah, I just abandoned them.
Do you have a black book of prompts? Do you categorize that stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah, we save them. I mean, at secret level, we have at any given time, anywhere from 4 to 80 different AI artists working on different projects. So
wow.
We've had to come up with a lot of techniques that don't exist. The tools are built for very solo production. They're not built for teams. They're not built for this. Saving prompts was never something they would do. So we have a Google Doc for every project that we save prompts. And artists, for a while, when they'd come into that environment, they sharing prompts is a thing people don't do. They're oh no,
that's my secret sauce. Yeah.
And it's not. It's literally nowadays I could take an image from a video that you do, put it into GPT, ask it to describe it, and I could probably get something similar. Or you could use it as a reference image in Midjourney, and I could get something similar. So that whole fallacy of oh god, these prompts are the magical sauce, but it is an interesting thing. But I actually developed something recently. I'm going to release it soon. It's a GPT based sort of product that we've been working on. It's just a prompt. I guess I would say wing person.
Oh, cool.
Wing thing that it saves your prompts, it saves everything, and it really helps guide coverage of a I have a close up here, I want coverage, give me other shots.
Having started companies before, what is the hardest part being, I don't know, a couple years in now at secret level? What's the hardest part about launching something or starting something?
The hardest part for me was just knowing that we were too early, potentially, that this was something that, may or may not really take hold. But I really doubled down on it and said, I feel like this is the future, and I'm going to go into this 110% and not look back. And I feel like I made the right bet, but it was scary. There was a couple months where you're just like, I don't like commercially doing AI at the time was not a thing. You know, it wasn't a thing that people were actively doing.
Yeah. What's the best part of launching it?
Um, being right, like not being wrong, in terms of you know it is going to transform and change everything, across every industry, but specifically media, media production. It's a game changer. I think for me, you know, there's going to be the things that we shoot, and then there's going to be everything else. And I feel like everything else is going to be a pretty big category. I think there's a lot of things that we're not going to shoot in the future because we won't have to.
And are you doing a lot of multi-dimension production where you're shooting and then plussing it up with AI? And
Hmm.
is that a
Yeah,
big part of what you do?
not a. I would say we start um, AI native, so we always start in AI. And I think all the traditional production companies that are just starting to get into doing this, I don't think they're going to win at all, because it's like you cannot take the traditional production mindset and apply that to AI. It just won't work. So we build from the ground up from AI. And I think that, in doing that,
Because unlike visual effects companies where you add it in after, they're just not compatible, right? They're like two
yeah,
different languages.
two different languages. And to me, the main thing was, if you start in AI, then, and we're working on features, we're working on TV shows, we're working on all kinds of stuff right now. Our business was more advertising and very little Hollywood. And then over the last kind of 6 months, it's sort of flip flopped, and we're more Hollywood and less advertising. Still do advertising.
Are you like packed?
So Will I am is an advisor of ours. I've been working with him for the past 6 months or so, and I always get like a text from him like, "Do you have any capacity to do this?" And I'm always like, "Yes, we do."
Right.
Um, uh,
That's a pretty strong advisor to have.
Yeah, no, I mean it's fun to work with someone like that who's constantly trying to, he does a billion different he's moving in a billion different directions all the time. And but like for us, I think capacity is like one of those things of like I'm one of those people that no matter how full my plate is, if something really fun is in front of me, and yeah, I have to do it. So
Tell me about the Coca-Cola ad that was AI generated that you worked on.
we did it last summer, and then Coca-Cola went quiet. And then we found out that they were testing the ad, traditionally testing the ad, focus groups. Um, and it went through 2 months of testing, and it did unbelievably well in testing. And then we found out that there was two other companies doing ads as well. We didn't know that. And then they put all the ads out, and I think Coca-Cola, definitely not. I think I know Coca-Cola went into it very much as this is going to be a disruption. People are going to love it or hate it, and they did. People loved it or hated it. It was a very polarizing commercial. I believe it made some lists. It was definitely like the most talked about, I think, ad of last year. And was one of those things that it's not perfect, it's not amazing, but my mom was very she's like my barometer for like, a lot of things. And I'm like, people hate this ad, and she saw it and she's like, why would people hate this ad? Like, I see nothing wrong with it. And then I'm like, well, when people found out that it was AI, they hated it. They absolutely hated it. And it was weird because when they did focus groups, they didn't tell people that it was AI, so they didn't hate it.
I just thought it was like animation or something.
Hmm.
So how did you feel when it got such a strong, polarizing response?
Happy.
You were happy about it?
I think one of my I think my media arts teacher in high school, who actually had a really profound effect on me, was he had this interesting saying that he's like, make something that people either love or they hate. If you make something in the middle, why bother?
Right.
And I really have used that, I think, a lot of my career in terms of just kind of swinging for the fence sometimes. And with that, I don't think we were trying to piss anyone off or do anything groundbreaking. We were just reimagining a TV spot from the late 90s that people love. I mean, in the UK, it was like when you saw that or you heard that jingle, it meant that the holidays were there. They'd start doing it early on in the season. So that, for a lot of people, that was the indicator that, okay, the holidays are here. So to be a part of it, I think was amazing. And I understood a lot of why people were. Yeah, I think people hate AI naturally out of fear. That's my, after listening to so many trolls online, which you're not supposed to listen to the trolls, but I was like, people didn't like it because they were afraid of what was happening.
What was Coke's response when did they also love it?
I believe that they knew exactly what they were doing,
Okay.
and it was a big moment to, I think, the production community, to the advertising community, saying, like, them planting the flag and saying, this is here.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away.
Right.
We're not afraid of it. Coca-Cola never has been afraid of technology. I mean, the polar bears were very early days CG. They've really ran into technology with their eyes open, time and time again.
What is your favorite thing that you've made in AI to you that is like, wow, that came out much better than I expected?
Good question. I would have to say, so I was invited to speak at TED in Vancouver earlier this year. Working with the TED organizers, kind of, I came up with this crazy idea of like, hey, I was on the opening night, and I went up and I asked the audience for participation, and I said, because I do participatory entertainment, so like, why not make it fun? And I said, let's give me the genre, give me the character, give me the location, and give me an object, and I will come back in 2.5 days and debut a film that you, the audience, helped create. So got all that. It was a beaver, it was sci-fi, it was underwater, and a magic sock was the object. So I don't know what the fuck I was going to do with that, and I actually went out Monday night and had a fun time, and then Tuesday morning woke up and said, oh shit, what am I going to do with this? But I had a small team that we assembled to help do this film, and we created a film called Submerged, and it's got to be one of the favorite things I've ever done. It's just so much fun, and we cracked story and visuals, and it was all done in Google as well. But this lovable little beaver that has a sad little life, underwater, this station pushing buttons all day. You know, I love this time constraints, and I love the pressure.
Were people going crazy?
I shouldn't mention them on there. There's a couple of very, A-list directors, people that were in the crowd that came up to me afterwards and were like, I don't know how you did that, but you know, it, it blew their minds, in terms of like, I think for a lot of people in Hollywood, they don't understand where we're at with AI. Like, they kind of know, but until they see certain things, they're just like, I didn't even know we were this close. It's crazy. So yeah, reaction was great, but um, also scary. I think for a lot of people, they're scared. I think it's like, am I going to have a job?
Where can people see the film?
On my social media, on Secret Levels social media. Yeah, we have it on Instagram, YouTube, all that kind of stuff.
Speaking of those A-list directors,
Yes.
what are their names? No, I'm just kidding. What's the biggest misconception that you encounter with people in the industry?
you know, fast and cheap is usually the what people think of, when they come to us. They're like, all right, so this is fast and cheap. And I very, very much have fought this. Like, there's a lot of AI creators that are out there that, like, they post like, I did this in one day for $500. And I'm like, you're basically racing to the bottom at that point. So we have to fight the fast and cheap thing. And I always have the saying that, that it's been said forever, but fast, cheap, good, pick two.
Right.
It's not, get it fast and cheap, it's not going to be good.
How do you and your team get the right payment or the right fee for the work when there is that perception that you just type in some prompts and spits out a beautiful video that shouldn't cost a lot, even though you have, dozens and dozens of people working?
Yeah. It's a good question. I mean, I think, there's a couple ways of approaching it. I mean, for me, it's the sort of thing that, if you hire somebody to paint your house, if they can paint it in an hour and it looks amazing, or if they took 4 weeks to paint the house, but it's the same amount of money. And you've seen this online with different arguments about different things, but like, did the person who painted it in an hour at the same quality as the person that did it for 3 weeks? Should you pay them less? Like, are you valuing their time or their experience? So part of that is a conversation, but then also, we all have, iPhones or cell phones that could shoot in 4K. Anybody can go out and shoot a commercial. So why would you hire a good director at an A-list production company when you have the same equipment, or not the same equipment, but, similar equipment in your pocket? So I think a lot of that is usually the psychology behind it, but it is one of those things that, people just, you give them the price and they're like, wait, why does this cost so much? Like, my neighbor can do this in AI.
Right.
Okay.
Well, then hire your neighbor.
Yeah, hire your neighbor.
So really you're validating it by what you're paying for experience and taste and craft. And it happens to maybe be faster, but that's what you're paying for.
Yeah, I mean, I think almost that there's a premium on efficiency. If I could get you your commercial that would have taken you 3 months or 2 months or a month to do, and I could do it in a week, shouldn't that be valuable?
As we look ahead, what's one area within creative storytelling, maybe beyond what we talked about today, that you're most excited to see what will evolve or what advancements will happen?
I think that I have a very long view on this, and to me, I think within the next 6 months to a year, we're going to see very large scale productions come out of very small groups of people that will be award winning, that potentially be theatrical.
You think feature film?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. I think I'm a big believer in, and I'm so glad that Flow that won the animated feature film at the Oscars last year. Flow was created for, I believe, $3 or $4 million with a team of like less than 30 people. So I think we're going to see these small groups of people that are able to do these gargantuan projects that normally, like Flow won over features that cost, like, the second cheapest one was a $70 million feature, and the biggest one was a $200 million feature.
Thanks for sharing all your wisdom and talking about the future of AI native production. Last question for you. Do you have a mantra or a saying or a quote or something that drives you or that you think about or that has defined you throughout your career?
Current one that we use a lot at Secret Level is that pre-production is the new post-production. I don't want that to be on my gravestone. But I don't know.
Tell me what you mean by that.
We're able to visualize things at the level of post-production very early on in the process. So we're actually seeing what you would normally see in post-production and pre-production. So it's pretty magical when you could, like, look at a final frame of what something's going to be so early on in the process.
You are really a pioneer, and you're always looking around the corner, and it's great to get some of your wisdom on the podcast today. So thanks for being on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Soul and Science is a Mechanism podcast produced by Maggie Bowles, Ryan Tillotson, and Lily Jablonski. The show is edited by Daniel Ferreira with theme music by Kyle Merritt. And I'm your host, Jason Harris.